Welcome back to the View from C Deck.
Cat in the wall, eh? Okay, now you're talking my language.
You ever drunk Baileys from a shoe?
Oh, great. Thanks, Mother, for replacing the baby aspirin with LSD.
How much you want to make a bet I can throw a football over the mountain?
After a big Buckeyes win, Saturday night in the shoe, electric atmosphere from everybody that was there. Tight game, didn't go the way we were predicting on any of our shows in the preseason, the preview show. Fortunately, our Notre Dame fan Mike was probably the closest prediction on that. But he lost, so go to hell. But I'm going to swing it to you here first, Casey. What were your thoughts going through that game? It's trailing in the first half, tight game. What'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, it was a little scary. I mean, I'm always, you know how I am. Like, I didn't ever really think we were going to lose. But Jackson being out, it was pretty evident he was a major part of the game plan, which is, I mean, that's no shocker there. I mean, he's probably the best receiver, and I guess there's a little bit of debate there in the country, but most likely the number one receiver. So whenever you lose that, the game plan kind of got a little out of whack. And I was screaming at the TV, run the damn ball, probably more than I should have been. But, yeah, no I mean, Stroud looked a little rattled isn't the right word, but it was almost like he was so used to going up against Knowles' defense and practice, and then that first game. I mean, remember what he looked like the first game last year.
Looks similar to this.
It did. But, I mean, he didn't really make that many mistakes. There's a couple bad throws, a couple underthrows, but he didn't force anything. There was a few balls that he missed, but only our receiver could have caught it.
Right.
And then, man, I'll say this. People are kind of, not everybody, but a lot of people are complaining about the offense. But to me, we won by 11, right? So 21-10. If we would have won 45-34, I'd be more concerned.
I'd be extremely concerned.
I'm
with you.
Not even close. So it was a tough, hard-fought game, and Notre Dame's probably is overrated. But I think they could have a top 20 defense by the end of the year. It's hard to tell right now. I mean, their offense is nothing to write home about, but it's not like they're like the 80th best offense or anything. They're probably top.
The only weakness I really saw in Notre Dame on Saturday night was their deep passing game. They don't have one. They took a few shots and one they all kind of worked miraculously, although one wasn't a catch, and it was called a catch. That ball hit the ground in the third quarter.
They didn't even hesitate. The one dude said incomplete.
And they don't even review it.
Yeah. Like, what? I was like texting my buddies, and one guy's like, is nobody talking about that not being a catch? I'm like, I don't know.
We'll talk about ESPN's production in a little bit, because it was laughably bad. But yeah, most of the time that Notre Dame had the ball, they were too conservative, I thought, as well, with their play calling. We pinned them deep a few times. Obviously, our punter may have been the MVP. Definitely was the MVP of the first half. We pinned them deep. They got conservative, not wanting to screw up.
Their punter was great, too.
After his first two punts, the first two were short, and then I thought they switched punters, to be honest. I did hear there was a bit of an odd wind. Ruggles' missed field goal was also into that direction, that they were hitting the short kicks on early. But, yeah, like you said, the defense coming out like that, playing well. I think they made Notre Dame's offense look worse than it is, because I was impressed with their quarterback, to be honest. They just didn't let him throw it deep much, but his deep throws, they weren't great, but they weren't terrible. I think he's capable. He's a capable runner, obviously. I think if you open up the playbook a little more, he could have hurt us a little more, but they didn't, thank goodness, and that's fine. But so it's hard to tell, too. Like, our DBs, I didn't think looked particularly great. They didn't make a lot of big plays. Our corners, I guess. Our safeties played well, especially in run support. Lathan Ransom had a very nice game. But they seemed a little untested, and I'm not too worried about it. But and it's something we're going to have to see in the future. But it may be a while before we see like a legit passing attack. Maybe when that team up north comes here, they may be the best one we face, which is probably not good.
Yeah. I mean, at least that gives us the whole season to get used to this new defensive scheme. And that was the first freaking time they put it in action. So,
Tell them to 10. They look great, though. They were dominating a good O-line up front all night long. They were whipping them. JT, Sawyer had an okay game. He got some pressures in there. I thought Zach Harrison had a nice game, especially in run support like he tends to do. He's been a bit of a bust as a pass rusher. He's not a 5-star guy like he came out to be, but he's solid all around, especially against the run. He was crashing well on their option plays. We had Michael Hall had his coming out party. Yeah. looked like Warren Sapp out there.
He's not going in. I'm wondering. I didn't see a whole lot of Ty League.
He played, but he didn't make many plays. No.
Yeah, that was surprising to me. I mean, but yeah, Hall was probably the best defensive player. But
Eichenberg,
really impressed with Eichenberg.
Yeah, the linebackers impressed the hell out of me. That was the weak spot last year, I thought, by far. And they looked he and Chambers. I mean, they played basically the whole game. Cody Simon came in, was in position and blew a couple tackles. But everybody was flying to the football. Eichenberg was finishing. I mean, he had All-American stats on Saturday night. So a lot to be excited about. As I said, the secondary didn't get tested too much, but the safeties came up well in run support. It's hard. Like, it's exciting. It's exciting because if they play like that, I have confidence in Day getting this offense figured out. Jackson coming back is going to be huge, like you said, and I totally agree that it was a big part of the game plan early on was to get the ball to Jackson Smith-Njigba on the edge, and it didn't work out because he was hurt. But also, I'll say Mike gave us a heads up in the Notre Dame preview that their secondary had increased its athleticism dramatically. You saw it. They were all over the place. They were making plays. We were not getting open that easily. Now, as part of it was their scheme, I think. But that freshman corner, 20, Madison, looked great. I mean, even when he got beat by Harrison a couple times, he was right in his face. Like he was there. He was in position for true freshman. That's pretty solid.
That's probably my biggest concern is they put something on tape for everybody to see the scheme to use against us.
So the scheme, I think, this is an interesting thing I did not notice pregame, and then they brought it up during the game on the broadcast. I knew that Al Golden had become their defensive coordinator. I forgot that he had been with the Bengals last year as their linebacker coach. And what they displayed on defense reminded me a lot of what the Bengals did against Patrick Mahomes twice in the second half, which is make Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, in this case Stroud and Ryan Day, make them stay patient. Don't get beat over the top. Give up kind of the underneath stuff, but that they're not, but that's not where they want to go. They want to hit intermediate passes, so take those away.
I heard Herbie said that about Mahomes a couple times.
Right? Yeah, that's it. I didn't even hear him say that. It totally reminded me of like once they said that he was the line, I was like, man, this is kind of what they did to the Bengals, was like make them stay. And once we actually decided to take what they were giving us, just like the Chiefs did in the first half of, especially the AFC Championship game, where they were scoring at will on the Bengals. This was very similar. Once we decided, okay, we're going to pound the rock. You're giving us, you're not bringing the safeties up. We're going to start pounding it, and we were successful because
finally they took a risk and he hit Savior. Boom.
Yeah, exactly. They won blitz. No more.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, like they're not the greatest offense, but the teams we play, that's what this schedule's perfect. We're about to play two cupcake, like they're cupcakes. Yeah. They're just, get your mind right kind of games. And then Wisconsin comes in. I mean, they're no joke at all, but that's not the type of offense I think that can shred this defense.
It's similar offense to what we played. Now, Notre Dame's tailback, I can't remember his name, number 7 though. He was running hard, more like we're going to see with Wisconsin and Brandon Allen. Yeah. And he had some success, so it's going to be a hard hat game. You have to bring it on, but I'm not worried about them scoring 30 on us, no matter what. So I think Day can get the offense right enough by then. But you're right, the next 2 weeks are huge. We'll talk about Arkansas State here in the second half of this as we'll preview them. Any other big takeaways that you had Saturday night? Obviously, the defense improving and the running game. Oh, we got to talk about Mayan Williams and Travion Henderson. It's interesting because they ended up with almost identical stats in this game. Almost identical. Like basically one more carry for Travion, but other than that.
Yeah, I guess a couple points. I mean, they tend to, both the coaches, the defensive Day and Knowles, tend to go with the hot hand. Seems like that's why he left Ransom in instead of Proctor after Proctor missed that tackle early on. And Ransom got hot. It was kind of the same, I felt like, with Mayan. He seemed like, I mean, Travion started that drive, I believe.
He did. He had like the first 2 carries in that drive.
Yeah, and then Mayan had that big third down catch. It was 3rd and 3, still on our own 20, I think.
What a throw by C.J. Stroud, too, on that play. Holy crap.
3 of those where he scrambles, and I think he's about to run out of bounds. And somehow, whenever he throws across the body like that, I hold my breath, but it seems like it always works out great. And then I was surprised that it seems like Ibuka is almost – I know Fleming was out, but Ibuka was getting targeted more than Marvin, which surprised me. Maybe just because Marvin was getting covered harder, but I'm thinking.
I think it was the game plan. Because it was the same kind of stuff they ran early on to JSN, or they were trying to hit him on screens and in the flats to try and let him out athlete. We say in high school, 1-on-1 is 1-on-none. Let him try and make a play with his superior athleticism. But as we saw, we may not be that superior athletically as we thought to Notre Dame secondary.
Yeah.
But I think we'll get all that sorted out. I'm not worried about the offense at all. I think Harrison could have better games, although he almost made a spectacular catch in the end zone as well. The fact that he even got his toe down to tap on that is incredible. Incredible body control. Just couldn't finish the catch.
Yeah.
Special teams. Ruggles missed the kick. Even though he was an All-American last year, I never felt that confident in him, I don't think. So
I was pretty surprised when he missed it. I was thinking, all right, at least now we're going to be tied. And then that happened. And that gave me a little bit of hesitation on. I said I never felt like we were going to lose, but that seemed like it could have been a turning point.
For me, mentally it could have been, because it was as a fan anyway, I was, here we go again, night game in the shoe against a ranked out-of-conference opponent, and everything's going wrong.
It kind of reminded me of the Michigan State game in 2015, to be honest.
Ooh, yeah, minus the weather, but yeah.
Yeah, we were just constantly, I think we were beating them the entire game, but it was always within 3 points or something.
It was in 7 most of the game.
Yeah.
Because we had a blocked punt and took a 7-point lead, and then we were up 14-7 for most of the game, and then they scored, and then scored again at expiration to take the lead for the first time all night. Yeah. Terrible. Let's not talk about that one anymore. All right. Gambling wise, we were both way off on this game.
Yeah.
Under and Notre Dame plus with the points was the way to go for sure.
Yeah.
In retrospect, the over under was suspiciously low, and it should have been a tell that they thought that this game was going to be more of a defensive battle.
Yeah, I was kicking myself because I actually did bet on it.
The spread though, we were, I think if Notre Dame actually had not punted on their final possession, we probably actually cover. I think we scored another touchdown, but we didn't need to once they punted. Shoot up the last few minutes.
Yeah, if you break one too, a 70-yarder at the end there.
Yeah. Vegas is good, man. It's always like that though. You're always like, oh, just one little score away.
Yep.
But that's a good time to transition, because now we got new week to make our money back. Let's do it. Let's get better. So we got Arkansas State coming into the shoe. They are 43.5-point underdogs right now, which is
I'm not touching that.
No. There's no. I mean, we'll make a pick, but there's no way I'm throwing money on any lines like that ever. Yeah. I just don't think there's value. I mean, so much can happen to make that not be. And actually, I think I would take Arkansas State in the points as my initial reaction to that. Just out of kind of how we looked offensively, that I don't know we get it totally straightened out in 1 week, especially coming down from the high too of that kind of game.
That's true. I mean, the only reason I might is because we just held Notre Dame to 10, so the odds that we get a freaking shutout are probably relatively high, which sounds kind of.
Hey, Arkansas State scored 58 last week. They have some talent.
Yeah.
But let's break them down real quick. Okay, Arkansas State. It was interesting going back through them. So they were pretty. I remember them being pretty solid, like in the early 2010s. But obviously, I haven't paid that close attention to them. Last year, they were awful, dead last in the Sun Belt, and they have a new coach who you probably know. Most people will. Champion of life himself, Butch Jones. Former Tennessee coach and Cincinnati coach around here in Central Michigan. He's down there. They've got a lot of transfers that have come in. James Blackman, who started at Florida State for a couple of years, is there as their starting quarterback. Former Buckeye Brian Snead is a backup tailback there. He had a pretty nice game against in their opener. They won 58-3, which is huge. The previous year, also when they were awful, they were the worst defense in college, maybe like in all of FBS. They were like 124th in total yards and gave up 38 points a game, which essentially, let me finish my thought from earlier. They had gone about 15 straight years without a losing season or something like that until the last 2 years. Before that, though, they had gone about 15 straight years without a winning season. So maybe they're on their way back down. They're winning against Grambling State. Do you know who the coach at Grambling State is?
No.
Former Browns head coach Hugh Jackson. So that.
Wow. One Hugh Jackson.
Yeah. So no wonder they got blown out by Arkansas State with a pathetic offensive showing. I think you remember some of those as a Browns fan.
We don't need to talk about that. Talk about that.
Yeah. So. We don't know much from their first game. That's an HBCU school against an FBS school, and not a good one at the moment. So we don't know much about them, but they did score a lot of points, so they're capable, and they have some talented guys. So I don't know if a shutout is necessarily a thing, but the way this defense played, I think they're going to continue, and the talent up front should be a total mismatch against a team like Arkansas State. It shouldn't. There's no way we don't control the line of scrimmage. So I don't see them scoring more than 17, maybe. Something like that.
I mean, to touch on the spread, the only reason I might pick Ohio State is because the offense is going to not have something to prove necessarily, but like Alabama and Michigan and all these top schools played chumps the first week and absolutely smoked them. And
Michigan's schedule is all chumps.
Yeah,
it's so pathetic. It is pathetic.
Bryce Young threw 5 touchdowns. Well, of course he did. I mean, Stroud's probably going to throw 5 against Arkansas State. And
by halftime, I would think.
And then, but is anybody going to be like if Bama beats Texas by 21 and then we smoke Arkansas State? Is anybody going to be talking about Arkansas State?
No.
I don't know. I feel like if we only score 35 against them, then the panic kind of starts to.
Oh, I'll be worried. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I could see like a 50-10, 52, whatever the math would be to 10. And you said it was what 43.5.
Yep. So take Arkansas State.
It's like right. Yeah.
And 53-10, the over-under's at 68. I actually do think the under's a good call on that one.
Yeah, those high spreads are just so tricky because I mean we could be up 55-10 and they just our third string defense is in at that point and they get a late touchdown and poof, you're done.
That's the over then. The spread's gone, but then the over hits.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems like I think our defense is good enough. I think like 56-10 sounds like a good score. I'm not betting that, but I bet that's the under still.
Yeah. Good, man. Yeah, I'm mostly looking forward to the backups and the receivers, like the 6th and 5th, the Xavier Johnsons of the world getting, more spotlight. I want to see what McCord's got because he's likely the man next year.
Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be a good battle between him and Devin Brown next year. We'll probably see both on Saturday.
Yeah, good.
Noon kick, I believe. Is that when it's going to be?
Noon kick, yeah.
So we could definitely see the.
I want to see. I want to see that third string running back, the freshman Hayden.
Yeah. Oh, we'll see him for sure.
Yeah.
You got to get guys. You got to get some guys, especially him. He's got to get game reps now because we're one injury away from him playing real snaps.
Yeah. Yep. So that's what I'm most pumped about, seeing him. And then I assume Jackson's probably not going to play, even if he can play. So
I'm not risking it if I'm them. Let him get at least another week.
And who knows about Fleming? If he's out, then your top 3 are then Harrison, Abuka, and then I'm guessing Xavier jumped into the 3rd spot now.
Him or Ballard, but I mean, I'm not sure they're going to change it up too much on basically 2 plays that he made. But and him just happening to be, I mean, he made the play, and it's amazing. It's a great story coming in and starting off as a walk-on here. But he's the one that got the advantage of when they finally decided to abandon the middle of the field with safety and let him run a post.
You could argue his play on special teams was even better.
Oh yeah, the next play. I mean, that's Terry McLaurin, guys. Go ahead, draft him in 3rd round, NFL. Easy money for you.
Gets you more playing time. So, yeah, we'll see.
That's the play that'll get him drafted for real, though. If he's a gunner like that the special team, the kick coverage. Not that there were a lot of them. It was excellent, though. Excellent kick coverage.
Oh, I don't think they got it past. Like, they should have taken a touchback every single time.
Yeah. It was I don't know why they thought they should try. I mean, the one player that I was very underwhelmed with on Notre Dame was that speedy tailback Tyree. He didn't do much. Didn't seem to outrun. Didn't have the blow up the angle speed that I was expecting. And we didn't really have too much of a hard time corralling him.
We corralled the tight end, too, and then he freaking fumbles it right back into his own chest. How does he even do that?
That's what I was saying. They have that bounce, the bounce that the guy catches that they're,
tip.
Yeah, tips all over to himself while he's laying on his back.
Yeah, and then the catch that wasn't really a catch.
Mm-hmm.
And then he threw to the wrong shoulder on one dude, and he one-handed it, I think.
Oh, it was a great catch. It was the other tight end over the middle.
Yeah, it was right in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
I think that was their touchdown drive, too.
It was.
So it's like, Jesus. So they could have easily been held to 3 points that game, but
they had to have a lot. It was just one of those things also that you're just thinking, like, man, what is with these games? And, like, why do the bounces just not go our way that night? But then we're going to have a game we destroy maybe Wisconsin 56-7 or something. Every bounce goes our way, and we're like, we don't need it. We don't need to stop.
Yeah, like Michigan State last year.
Yeah, everything goes our way.
Damn it.
Yeah. Yep. But this week the worry meter is at 0. For our picks purposes, I'll take Arkansas State and the under. Arkansas State plus 43.5, mind you, and the under.
My gut says we will cover, but under.
First half spread's 28. I actually think we have a better chance of covering that.
Yeah. I'd say so. I could see us being up 35-0 at halftime.
Yeah,
and then
35-3, 35-0. Yeah.
Yeah, but hopefully not too much like the Indiana game of a couple years back.
Ooh, I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't think that's gonna happen.
35-7.5, I think, and we win by 7.
Yeah. Okay, one last thing I said I'd touch on earlier. The ESPN broadcast of the game Saturday night, going back to Saturday night. Holy crap. I mean, the word one, they're not showing the yellow first down line most of the time. Now, I'm old enough to remember not having that line, but it was ridiculous to not have it anymore.
Yeah.
Chris Fowler, Now he's been doing U.S. Open tennis all week, so maybe his mind isn't quite like where it should be in terms of preparation for this game. But he was off. He called that bobbled pass an interception.
Was that intercept? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
Yeah. No, it wasn't clearly. He blew the call on who blew the block early, on the sack that Notre Dame had our first drive, which had me believing because I was like, oh, they must have switched numbers or something because I was all discombobulated because I heard him say that and I was like, no, it's not. It's not Matthew Jones. That's Jackson that missed that block.
Yeah. And that wasn't. I guess it's you call it the broadcast too. They completely missed a play.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah, they're
sitting there watching like, what the hell just happened? It was like a 7-yard gain.
It was, and what's better is they were talking about Notre Dame's offensive line coach while showing their strength coach. It wasn't even the right guy that we watched instead of the play. Watched him react to the play, but not the play. And because they didn't have the damn yellow line, I had no idea how long the run was.
Yeah. I'm just waiting until the yardage comes up, and I'm like, I get 7 or however long.
Yeah, it was a 7-yard gain. It was 2nd and 3 all of a sudden. I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I got to watch this guy do it. Then I found out that he wasn't even the right guy later on. I'm like, this is just nonsense. I'm so glad we're going away from ESPN because they've skimped on all their broadcasts lately.
I cannot wait. Yeah. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah. I remember there was a game. I think Michigan State was playing somebody. It looked like the game was in 480p last year. I'm like, what year is it, man?
I pretty much don't turn ESPN on unless we are on. I won't
I don't watch any of theirs. A big part of me starting this podcast was because of the lack of shows that interest me now in the sporting world, because they've all gone to Hot Take City, and it's just nonsense for the most part.
The Fox Noon kickoff is actually decent.
Urban's on there, right? Urban's back?
Yeah, he's back.
Was he touching any ladies? Was he laying down the charm?
I saw. I barely caught the end of him talking, but apparently he killed it in this first episode back.
Well, I mean, he's definitely interesting to watch. He's going to show you some stuff that you're not going to know, especially if you're not like a hardcore football junkie that eats the stuff up all week.
Yeah, he's just always prepared, to a crazy level, I think.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt. I mean, that's how he became what he became. I've heard the stories from everybody that coaches didn't take lunch breaks. Were there 16 hours a day at the Woody. Yeah. A little more laid back now, but like I said, so where are we thinking national championship wise? Feeling better about it? Feeling worse about it after week 1?
I feel better about it. Because, that offense is going to get on track. That was the lowest points under the day era, I think, out of any game, if I'm remembering right.
Yeah, I think that's right.
It might be tied, but it's got to. I'm pretty sure it's the lowest. It could be tied with something else. I can't think right now. But
24 is the lowest I can think of in a game. Besides that,
yeah. But that defense, I saw a stat that we had either the same amount or more tackles for loss in that game than we had all of Oregon, Michigan, and Utah in that one game.
Yo. Hey, so, Jim Knowles, you need a foot rub. You need. I mean, I'll do some nasty things for you, man.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's going to take, like I touched on Wisconsin. They might have a better offense than Notre Dame, but it's going to take a good passing team to really threaten that defense and score over 30. And then does that team have a defense that can keep us under 30?
We may not see it until the playoff.
Yeah.
A passing offense like that.
Yeah, I mean, Scum could, I don't know, just because of the rivalry, who knows? They could put up 28 on us or something. But we just got that revenge factor in that game. So, I mean, at this point, I saw Penn State struggle, and somehow Clifford plays like dog shit 90% of the game and plays out of his mind for 10%, and they come back and win. But their offense doesn't look any better than Notre Dame's, I don't think.
No, I don't. It's not with him at quarterback. They're just going to be limited.
So really,
Junkovic quarterback.
Iowa, hell no.
All right, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that real quick. Iowa, 7 points, 0 touchdowns. Kirk Ferentz. I mean, that's he just won the Big Ten Coach of the Year again. Because nobody's going to replicate that.
No. Yeah. So you start looking at the schedule, and you're like, all right, Penn State's not going to score. I mean, we just held Notre Dame to 10. That's not going to happen every time, I guess. But Penn State's not scoring 20. Iowa's not scoring 20. Michigan State's not scoring 20. I wouldn't think. And then then you're left with Wisconsin and Michigan, and they're both at home. Wisconsin can't really throw the ball that much. At least I don't, as far as I know. No. I mean, it's so early, but it's a pretty good assumption.
Until I see it, I will not think that Wisconsin could throw the ball, and they didn't against Illinois State. They ran all over them.
So this game was big in a lot of ways, because it was kind of like Oregon last year, which it actually didn't even end up working out that way. But if we lost to Notre Dame, they were going to be blocking us for a spot, tiebreaker, and then we'd be chasing our tail the whole year and just hoping the dominoes fell the right way. Now they're out of the way, and you just start looking. Really, the only games that worry me now are Wisconsin, Michigan, and I'm not that worried about Wisconsin. I'm always going to be worried about Michigan.
I think the only game that matters is Michigan, because the one loss is going to be the key, I think, because nobody else. I don't think Penn State's is avoiding 2 losses in the Big Ten. Nobody else in the East is besides Michigan, and so the Wisconsin game doesn't really matter that much. And I think that we have the marquee out of conference win can make up for that loss. Plus, we can avenge it in the Big Ten championship. Like the road's set for the playoff. I'm not really worried about that. The only thing that would worry me more is that Georgia actually looked like they were really good.
But Oregon, I don't want to say Oregon could be overrated when I just said Notre Dame's.
I'll say it. They're overrated because Bo Nix is overrated as hell.
Yeah. But, yeah, they're legit. I mean, them and Bama could easily both make it. I mean, that's probably the most likely scenario. Those two, us, and pick between Clemson and, I don't know, Oklahoma.
I think I just heard Ryan Day's bullwhip in your kitchen.
Yeah.
All right. We'll save most of the rest of this, though. We can fold over. We're going to have a college football preview later this week, a preview of the week's action, mostly gambling situations here, gambling lines. We'll talk a little bit more about the national championship picture, too, and national picture as a whole. But thanks for coming on here, Direwolf. Glad to have you again, and we'll see all you guys next time.
Hey, guys. Whoa, big gulps, huh? All right. Well, see you later.
A rich man's